All right. We are here with Grant Cardone, Uncle G. Really appreciate you coming on and very excited to have you.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you and your audience.
Absolutely. Well, one thing about our audience is we like money and we like real estate. So I'm pretty sure we're talking to the right guy.
I like real estate and I like people because you need people to fill the real estate. And I was just writing an article for Bank One this morning about, what's changing with the middle class. And I'm like, bro, people are waking up right now. They're waking up because I think the COVID, the vaccine, the FBI, all these conspiracy theories that ended up being true, I think are starting to wake people up as to like, okay, what is it I know to be true that isn't? And I think people are really starting to challenge everything that we've been educated on and saving money and buying homes and going to college, just getting a job and paying taxes. I think people are really starting to wake up, Republicans and Democrats, independents, and saying, hey, I need to learn something new because my money's at risk, my retirement's at risk, my home's at risk. So I think people are really starting to wake up right now. It could be a good time for a mass wake up and change people.
Yeah, couldn't agree. I think the change is coming. I think the tide is shifting. And one thing I've heard you say a lot recently over the last few months is that now is the time to get rich. The time is now. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So look, I mean, these are the moments. The last 3 years, it would have been everybody was in the game, everybody was playing, everybody was buying real estate. Money was cheap. Anybody could raise money. The bank, the big institutions were all just slopping money everywhere, and made it almost impossible. It was inflating assets faster than they probably should have been. Yeah, too many players in the game, and now it's going to come down to who can continue to raise money, who continues to have courage, who can actually still execute when the noise is in the marketplace. Everybody says they're going to buy when if you go back about 6 or 8 months ago, people were like, oh, I can't wait till everything gets corrected. I'm going to buy everything. Trust me. When the shit hits the fan, the fearful run as far away as they can from the action. And this is the time where money is not as important as courage. You got to have courage in these moments.
I like that. That's very true. And there is a lot of fear in the market. And in terms of like the real estate market specifically, another thing I hear you say a lot is that the next 18 months will be the biggest real estate opportunity of our lifetime. So let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think 100%. I believe that I've been waiting for this to happen now since 2008, 9, and 10. I was not in a financial or a competence position to actually execute. If you'd have bought everything, where do you live, Oliver?
San Diego.
You could have bought everything in San Diego in 2009, 10, 11, 12. You'd be so rich today, you wouldn't be doing this podcast. I mean, you couldn't afford to do this podcast. But I lived in Los Angeles back in 10 and I didn't have the competence. I didn't have the confidence. And I didn't have the courage. This time, and for the past 12 years, basically, that's all I've been doing is working on, okay, what is it I know that's in my way? What competence do I need? The more competent I am, the more confidence I have. And then once I have confidence, then I'm like, okay, I can act this time. So we added 12,000 units in the last 12 years. Wow. In the next 3 years, I think that I double that. Because I remember going through 2008, 9, and 10, probably like yourself. I don't know if you were old enough to go through that.
Yeah. No, I was there.
I was like, it's never going to end. It's never going to end. Real estate prices are never going to come back. I was so wrong. It ended 18 months after it started, and then rents just started cranking. And then values started rocking, right? And then if you'd have bought, I bought my first deal. I mean, I did buy some stuff, right, in the process, but I could have bought more. In 2012, I bought 1,000 units. I sold my house in Los Angeles I think I had, I don't know, $8 or $9 million of equity. My family was comfortable there. My kids were being raised there and go to school. We had parties at my house every weekend. I mean, it was the place to go to. I had to give up that house to use the equity, and I bought 1,000 units in Florida. This is before Florida was popular.
Yeah, I remember. I remember $27,000 condos in Florida.
I bought 1,000 units for $58,000 a unit, and those things are worth today. They're probably worth $250 a unit.
That's incredible
on a wholesale level. So the reason I'm bringing that up is not because I did the right thing there. I actually converted a liability, my house. I hope your listener hears this. My house was a liability. Okay, it was a trophy house, perfect location. People would want to buy the house. Everything that you'd want in a house, it was in that house. The location was sick. The view was great. The neighborhood was fantastic. Barriers to entry, but I dumped that so that I could get the asset, the cash out of it, and use it to buy something more desirable. And that takes courage to do that. And it takes the willingness to change to do that, right? So it was a very, very difficult thing to do. You go back to 2000, you look back from now, you're like, oh my God, the guy made $250 million on one purchase. And like, oh, that's so easy to look backwards. But in the moment, it's very, very difficult to do. I had to move my whole family, make new friends, move my company. It was extremely terrifying. And, but I knew it was the right thing. This time I have the confidence of doing that a bunch of times. And so for all the listeners out there, guys and gals, reassess all your assets. Everything that you think is an asset, look at it right now, see what you could convert it to so that you could use the money from that to go into something that would become a bigger asset for you going forward. And because when you bought, whatever you call an asset, a kid's bicycle, when they're 6 years old and you give them a bicycle, that's an asset for the kid. But 3 years later, it's not an asset. It's basically a liability. It's just sitting around rusting. So what are those things? A list of things, and everybody has them, regardless of where you are in life. You could be poor or you could be rich. What are those things you have in life that you could convert from liabilities to assets to buy those things and take advantage of this next 18 months? Because this next 18 months is going to be the biggest real estate devaluation in the shortest period of time that we've seen probably in the last 50 years.
Wow. And yeah, that's wild. That has me excited as well. I love the idea of kind of repositioning your portfolio, really taking a hard look at what's an asset, what's a liability. One thing I also hear you say a lot is you shouldn't own your home, you should rent. But I never hear you say, which is obviously very controversial for us in the realtor community. But the other thing I never hear you say is that you shouldn't buy real estate. You're just talking about your primary house and maybe repositioning the way you look at that.
Yeah, look, I own 2 homes. I didn't take my own advice on two homes, but I'm in a kind of a different position than most of America, fortunately, and I'm grateful that I am. But people should not be buying a home. A home is not a good investment. Full stop. A personal home is not a good investment once you do the math. Okay, and if you get over being right here, and you put more emphasis on getting rich than being right, and actually do the homework on, in Florida, you got 2% property taxes a year. You have 7% to sell the house, 6 or 7% to sell the house. You have 7% interest. So if I got 7% for 10 years, that's 70%. 2% property tax for 10 years, that's 20%. I'm at 90% right now, and 6 or 7% to pay a broker, and I haven't put on a new roof or paint the place. So I need a 100% gain to break even. And that doesn't mention the down payment, by the way. Okay, what about the down payment? Look, I was telling my wife last night, I said, we bought a house in Malibu. I could take the money from that house in Malibu right now and buy a multifamily deal, 4 times the down payment. And I would earn on that house, I would probably earn $4 million in cash flow a year and have 0 expenses from just that one purchase, but we got emotional about the house. I think I'm going to make some money on it, blah, blah, blah. I tell myself all these stories. Oh, we're going to be happy there, and we're going to have more sex there, and the kids are going to love it. They're going to bring their friends. I tell myself all these stories, but bro, all those stories and all that happiness cannot be worth $4 million a year.
Oh,
I'm just saying, like, I can rent for $4 million, bro. I can rent a 300-foot yacht for 3 weeks of the year and go to the south of France and not have the headaches of the house and have an asset that's going up in value. So now that's a trophy house in Malibu on Carbon Beach. Imagine if
congrats on that purchase, by the way. That thing is incredible.
Yeah, I stole that house, right? I truly believe I stole that house, but it's still a bad deal because look what I could have done with the money had I not bought the house, right? Now that's a trophy next to Larry Ellison, and it's a bunch of billionaires live on this house. I'm not going to lose money there. Now compare that to the average home in America is $500,000 or $600,000 today. You're competing with millions of other $500,000 and $600,000 houses. What's the chances in 10 years that house is going to double in price? Maybe it goes from 500 to $1 million. But remember, if it goes from 500 to $1 million and you do the math that I just did, you break even on that house. And then you say, well, I had to live somewhere. Okay. So you had to pay $2,000 or $3,000 a month in rent, but you're not counting the cost of capital. That $500,000 or $600,000 could have bought you a $2.5 million apartment building or been an investor in $2.5 million. And if that doubled the way your house did, now you got $5 million. You're never going to get that out of one house.
That's very fair. So if I was to unpack what you're saying there, it's save the money, the down payment, the repairs, the this, that, and the other thing, pay that towards just renting a house, keep your costs down, and then take that money and put it into, I'm guessing, more of like a multifamily type play where you can force equity and you can really see much bigger gains over time.
Or whatever you love, right? Like you guys are real estate people, so you should love real estate. But if you love the stock market, go buy $500,000 worth of Apple stock. If you like Bitcoin and you've done your research, go put $500,000 in Bitcoin. I don't personally like those two investments because they don't cash flow, and I think most people need cash flow. So if I take that same $500,000, let's say, we'll just pretend with that number, and I buy an apartment building in San Diego that cash flows at 6%, dude, I'm making $30,000. I'm making $2,500 a month in free cash flow that is not taxed at normal rates,
right?
Because it's passive income. And
then you can use that money to offset your rent.
I can pay $2,500 of rent and have a freaking $3 million swimming pool in a sick location. And by the way, if they don't treat me right, I can leave in 10 months. You cannot leave your house in 10 months. And so all I'm saying is a house is a place to live. I want to put money where I get paid to own it. And you do not get paid to own where you live. So look, and people get all upset about this. They get so emotional about this and think that I'm like trying to convince everybody to rent from me. I own 12,000 rentals. I'm going to end up with 100,000. Okay. There's 330 million people in America. 100,000 units does not provide a space for everybody in America to live. So I'm not trying to run a game on people to either invest with me or rent from me. I'm just telling people, this is what I'm doing with my money. A better investment in apartment buildings is your own business. Take that $500,000 and reinvest in your business and grow your realtors or your brokers and sell it to Compass. Fuck, they just paid $5 billion for like 60 brokers or something. I mean, they're idiots. So, build your business, grow your top line, and go sell it to Zillow or Trulia. These people are stupid. They don't know how to manage money. All they know how to do is raise it. They raise it, they blow it, or they lose it. And you guys could do that by building your own business. There's no better business than your own business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I think, again, your perspective is not to not sell them real estate. It's just maybe you're not selling them a primary residence. You're selling them something to invest in that they can see the bigger gains on over time.
Yeah, dude. You know, your brokers, the brokers that are in here, are they single family homes?
Yeah, we sell everything. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly single family.
Yeah, mainly, for sure.
Yeah, don't use your own supply, man.
Don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah, don't get high on your own supply. Sell the single family home. Pick up your commission. Every 600 grand should produce, you know, $18,000 in commissions if you keep it all, and do that, you know, as many times a year as you can. You do it 50 times a year, you make 900 grand. Take the 900 grand and invest it in $2.7 million worth of apartments. Every 100 grand should buy 300 to 400 grand worth of income producing property, real estate, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna tell you, there's going to be some opportunities in office.
Yeah.
Everybody hates
I'm
office.
actually curious now that you bring that up, because I have some theories on that as well. Like some people, to your point about things are never going to recover and that attitude going around. And there's a lot of that in the office world right now, is people are just like, oh, office is dead forever and this and that. Where I think it's almost like a huge opportunity now, because nobody wants it. And eventually people are going to come back to work, in my opinion. Curious.
100%. Like if you go back just to COVID, back to 20, go back to 3 years ago, only 3 years ago, look up the headlines, March of 2021. Retail is dead. Retail is never going to come back. They're going to be closed forever. Retail shopping centers are one of the best investment vehicles in the country today. One of the best returns, highest occupancies. These economists in real estate headlines are almost always wrong. They're going to get it wrong on office too. People will go back to work. Every CEO in the country that was for remote work has now, every single one of them has reversed their opinion. It is a failed project. It did not work. The only people that want to continue with the remote work are the people that don't want to work. And you guys are like, oh yeah, it worked so good. No, it didn't, man. It doesn't build culture. Productivity went down. Teamwork went down. Culture, it got destroyed. So I think office is going to be a monster opportunity. We bought 2 office buildings since COVID. Both of them are at 95% occupied, and I'm very confident in that. Even getting better, by the way, not worse.
Yeah, that's killer. Congrats on that. And I definitely agree. And so if I'm unpacking the Cardone Blueprint for getting rich, it sounds like invest in yourself, invest in your business, invest in real estate, grow your stack of cash. As your stack of cash grows, roll those into bigger and bigger properties that I'm guessing you're, you know, on the backside, you're 1031ing all the way up and all of that. But is that kind of in a nutshell what the playbook looks like?
Dude, make money and invest in assets. Make money and invest in assets. Okay. I mean, I just wrote this book called The Wealth Creation Formula. And basically it is a book about, and I think it's the right time for the book, because I think people are starting to wake up now that the middle class is not safe. But the Wealth Creation Formula is a little formula about what you do with money. It looks like this. I'll show it to you. Somebody just gave it to me, this insert.
Look at that.
And basically this is what people do wrong with money. And I'm talking about from my own experience. They earn money, okay, and then they go spend it. Well, right. What I started doing when I was 28 years old was I would get money, I would get more money, and then I would invest all the money. So I lived on, there's a thing I've operated for now, I don't know, 30 years, the 40% rule, which is I'm going to invest 40% of my top line gross. So if I make $1 million a year, 400 grand, the same amount, by the way, you'll probably pay the U.S. government. The 400 grand is going to go to investments, not spending, not quality of life. Okay.
I like that. That's hard to do, but
it's impossible to do. It's impossible to do without raising your income.
Yeah.
So if you do it though, if you can get disciplined enough to do it, you'll never overspend. You'll never get in too much debt ever. And I guarantee you, if you do this, you will. I guarantee you, a person and a family will create wealth. This came from a study I did all the way back to 1929, and I noticed this. I remember exactly where I was when I ran across this graph where wealthy families were reinvesting 40% of their over like 50 or 60 years. 40% of their gross dollars were being reinvested, not saved. Like this is a myth. People saving money, 401ks, IRAs. You guys are doing that because you don't know how to invest. And this was told us, by the way. The banks convinced us, and Wall Street convinced hundreds of millions of people for the same reason we eat too much cereal in this country and we have obesity. The banks convinced the American people to save their money. Saving money is not going to create wealth. The only thing that creates wealth is investing in assets that produce a cash flow. So what I do is I get some money, okay? Then I'm going to get better at my job to get a little more money. This is before I do anything. I got a job paying me $4,000 a month. I'm going to do something at that job to get a bonus for another something, 2,000. The entire 2,000 would go to an investment, and 40% of the 4,000 would go to investing, and I have to live off of basically $2,400. The difference. And which is,
I love that as a framework. Yeah, I think that's incredible.
It is so hard to do because you have no money like to buy fancy cars or watches or purses or bicycles. And now you have to really start making sense of like just enjoying life without trying to buy life.
Yeah, exactly. And me personally, I work really good with that pressure. Like if I know I need to go make more money, like I'm going to figure out ways to make more money. And by kind of almost forcing that mentality, I think it just accelerates the results.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now let's say I've stacked up. Let's say I got, a couple $100,000 that I've saved up. I'm curious on your thoughts in terms of like how and where to deploy that. Let's assume we're talking real estate, but if I had $1 million, is it better to buy like a fourplex here in San Diego, or is it better to buy a 25 unit in Iowa or something?
Well, until you guys shoot Newsom, it might not be a good thing to buy anything in San Diego because he's gonna try to win votes, or whoever replaces Newsom, it'll be Olson. They're going to try to win votes by just saying, hey, you don't have to pay your rent. You got a big problem in San Diego County. Like they're going to continue to promote, don't pay your rent. You shouldn't have to pay your rent. The landlord is the devil. And, that's a problem, right? I got a buddy in Baker. He's got some stuff up in Bakersfield, 18 units, and he hadn't collected rent on 9 of them for 9 months.
Damn.
And he can't get them out.
Yeah.
So now, do you go to Iowa? No, I wouldn't go to Iowa. Okay. I would go where there's job growth, positive migration, favorable taxes for businesses and companies. That's friendly to landlords. But I would take the whole $1 million and I would put it in one big deal. I would not spread it a bunch of little deals. I've done little deals. Anybody that's done a bunch of little deals doesn't want them anymore. All you got to do is survey your audience. If you've done 2s and 4s and 8s, at some point you're going to be like, I don't want to do 2s and 4s and 8s. I want to do 40s and 60s and 80s. Once you get done with that, you're going to do, I want to do 200s. Now, the thing the audience is going to say is, you got to start somewhere. No, what you need to do is start with $1 million. If you have $1 million, you can buy, the most you can buy in San Diego is $4 million worth of real estate. In San Diego, that's going to buy most it's going to buy is 20 units, probably more like 15.
Yeah, I was going to say probably more like 12.
Yeah, dude. So I'm going to back into the math. I'm going to back into the math and say, I'm going to actually follow the money and say, where do I need to go? Now this is what I did in Los Angeles. I was in Los Angeles. I sold my house in Los Angeles. I took $12 million, bang, moved to Miami. And I said, I can buy 1,000 units there. In LA, I could have bought maybe 200. So I'm like, I want scale. I want cash flow. I want, if the rents go up by $100, first I got to be able to collect it. Can't do that in LA. You can't raise rents in LA. So I'm like, I can't do business here. Unfortunately, most people don't follow their money. They follow their heart.
Right.
You know, I followed the money so that I could actually take care of the people that are in my heart. So
go ahead.
So when you unpack that, I know you like to unpack things. When I went and bought, I did the math. I said, man, if I get $100 rent increase, do I want it to be on 50 units or do I want it to be on 1,000 units?
Yeah. It's a good way to look at it.
Do you want a $50? Like your audience could invest $1 million with a guy like me that buys real estate. You could be in $100 million deal rather than a $4 million deal. You're going to have more protection like that. You're going to have a better location. You're going to have a better asset. You're going to have a better tenant. You're going to have a better management team to collect, because bigger properties, as you know, can afford a better management team and better amenities so that you can justify raising rents and you get a better tenant.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's A, put it all into one deal, don't break it up. And B, look at markets, not necessarily based on emotion, but where the people are moving, where the taxes are friendly, and where the landlord laws are friendly.
100%.
And then go big.
Yeah, and that's going to be Utah, Arizona, Texas, anywhere in Texas, Alabama, Florida, Carolinas, Georgia, Nashville, Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee, almost anything Tennessee except Memphis. And what did I leave out there? You know, Chicago is going to offer great opportunities here, even though it does not fit into any of those parameters. But Chicago is going to get cheap, and they're not building assets. Austin, Texas, I'd leave Austin alone right now because they got too much product coming on for the next 18 to 24 months.
Got a little too hot.
Dallas is going to get hammered because they got 80,000 units getting dropped into that town right now. But in 2025, the rents in Dallas, Texas are going to explode because they're not going to build anything for the rest of 23. They're going to finish the projects they have. All of 24 and 25, they won't build anything in Dallas. And then you're going to end up with a shortage in late 25, 26. Same thing will happen in Austin, by the way. So those markets that I said, okay, they're kind of not good right now. By 2032, you're going to say, God damn, I could have just closed my eyes and just bombed out with everything I had, and you're going to get super rich.
Love that. That's some great alpha right there from the man himself on what markets to be looking at. I want to circle back to what you said earlier about there being fear in the market and things like that. Obviously, you know, in the real estate space specifically, like inventory is really low. Interest rates have crept up quite a bit. And so I'm curious maybe more on like the sales side, how us in the real estate community, we should be kind of maybe pivoting our businesses, or perhaps, you know, how we should be setting up our day to really go out there and crush it.
Well, for the residential guy or gal, you know, you have to learn, you need to get a little more sophisticated in your presentation to sellers and start including an investor pitch, not just a kitchen pitch. You're going to make more money if you learn to sell to investors rather than users.
And now when you say investors, are we talking like the flip community or any type of like repeat buyer type people, or big whales, or both?
Well, I prefer going up the food chain. You make more money the higher you go up the food chain. You can crack a flipper because they underestimate how hard and difficult this is. Most of those guys are going to go away right here. I've been saying that for 3 years. They're going to die. They're going to get slammed, and they're going to get cracked here in this cycle. Because you're not going to be able to find those deals. You're just not. You're not like everybody. Almost everybody has it wrong. You think prices are going to come down on houses? They're not actually coming down. They're not going to. They're gonna. The only time they're going to come down once interest rates come down. When interest rates come down, the first thing that's going to happen is prices are actually going to come down with interest rates.
You think so? That's interesting. Why is that?
Because the supply is going to increase. Okay, because the moment this thing breaks, if rates come from 7.5, they're going to breach 8%. By the way, before the end of the year, they're gonna breach it for a moment and probably start to pull back. Once they come back down under 5, everybody's going to put their house in the market because they're going to go try to buy the house they want.
Right, that's true.
And they're going to be like, okay, I can reduce my price 20 grand right now because I want to go buy something. And you have no inventory. There's no inventory. And the inventory that we do have in this country, they talk about the 4 million units short. I think that number is more like 40 million units short. Because if you look at most of the inventory, if you go to Tampa, Florida, all those houses were built in the 1950s. The whole market's stuck in a time zone of Lost in Space and the Jetsons and Leave It to Beaver. It's like you're going to walk in their house and see black and white TV or the first color TV. It's fucking crazy. Johnny Carson's on, and the whole market is stuck in 8-foot ceilings, popcorn on the ceilings, old shag carpets, mold, window units, terrible central air and heat if they have it. The little bedroom communities that are just very dated. So that is not desirable living for most people. So because of the inventory problem, until rates come down, prices won't come down. But even then, what do people want to buy today? I want good technology. I want safety, security. I want a place to park my car, or maybe not. Maybe in the next 10 or 15 years, we won't even have all these parking spots because we're going to have people just picking up cars and saving $700 a month in car payments.
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective, actually, because, when in terms of like more inventory come onto the market as rates come down, I think that's counterintuitive, but it also makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of buyers or sellers right now that just don't want to sell because they're sitting on a 4% mortgage and they don't want to go and get a 7.5% mortgage, so they're just not going to move.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys that have, I think there's 40% of the mortgages out there are sub 3. Wow. Those guys should be renting their homes because they're going to earn more. They're going to actually make more money on that as a rental. A long-term rental, not Airbnb, by the way. Airbnb is going to get destroyed here in the next 24 months as well, nationwide. Yeah,
I saw they just pulled the rug out in New York.
Yep, they're going to keep doing that too. It's happening in Nashville. It's happening in Atlanta. It's going to sweep the whole country.
That's wild. So on that note, I wanted to. When I knew you were coming on, I threw it out to the audience. If they had any questions for Uncle G. So I wanted to throw a couple of those out. This one's from Eric Upchurch, and he said, be honest. Are there days that you absolutely get burned out and need to get away from all the noise? And if so, what do you do to reset? Because you seem superhuman and you've got to be human.
Oh, well, I definitely am human. And I don't get burnt out, dude. I just get most days I don't want to work.
Go on.
Say again.
I can relate. So
yeah, I don't want to go to work, but I don't know what else to do. Okay, what am I going to do? So I'm happiest when I work and produce stuff and do things like this. And hopefully one or two people hear this and get something out of it. Most of the time I get more, I don't want to exaggerate this, but most of the time I get, people hating because of my opinions rather than people using it. But I think because why? Somebody will take some pieces of this, clip it, clickbait it. The guys that are going to win with it aren't doing clickbait video, right? They're going to go make money, put their head down, make money a second time, a third time, a fourth time. They're going to go do this. And 10 years from now, I'm going to run into them and say, bro, I picked up 25 million because of that interview.
Yep.
The clickbaiters are going to freaking respond right away. The haters, they respond immediately. The people that take information and use it, you got to work it. So I don't hear from those people as quickly, right? That's the kind of exhausting thing about what I do is the amount of opinions and I'm wrong and people misunderstood what I said.
Yeah, it seems like you have an incredibly strong hater shield.
Dude, I think I have an incredibly strong hater attractor beam or something.
That too. Attract and shield.
Yeah.
Attract and block.
Yeah, but I've learned how to convert it. Look, I look up and I'm like, I've been right more than I've been wrong. I'm definitely more right than these people that hate on me. I came from the mud, man. I came from nothing. So I told my wife the other day, I said, look, actually this morning, I said, baby, we were having this little conversation. I said, I've been handling this for 30 years. I know exactly what I'm doing. And I don't need somebody's input about how to handle this because I've done this too many times and been right too many times and been through hell too many times. And that doesn't mean I'm right about everything. I don't mean to say that I think I'm right about everything. I study quite a bit. I spend an hour to an hour and a half every day studying somebody that has done 100x more than I have. Forget the 10x. So I'm constantly questioning my own thinking, constantly looking at what is it I don't see, what is it I don't know. These people that do clickbait videos, bro, they're going to make 12 cents this year from Google ads. And they haven't bought $4 billion worth of real estate. They haven't sold $1 billion worth of products on the internet. I did that, and I didn't know how to do it. So I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. Learning how to do shit is one thing. Learning how to stay out of failures is a completely different skill set. I've never filed bankruptcy, bro. I've never been in a bunch of legal problems. I have people that attack me. We defend it. We fight it. But fortunately, knock on this metal table, bro. Like I've done something for 30 years. Even my haters say, bro, like I don't like the guy's style or how he talks, but goddamn guy sure makes shit work.
Your haters are getting exhausted.
The only thing that this plane right here, my actual plane, a guy told me this the other day, I thought the line was good. The only thing this plane and my haters have in common is they both go nonstop.
I like that. That's hilarious. Yeah, I can imagine. And I'm sure as you've gotten bigger and bigger over time, it just piles on more and more. And then one of the questions that Darren Jacqueline asked was, how have you had to reinvent yourself and become stronger as you've grown through the levels?
Yeah. So when I was 30 years old, the only vertical, the only industry anybody knew me in was in the automobile industry. By the time I was 35 years old, I had made a commitment that, okay, I'm not going to be dependent upon this vertical any longer. No, by the time I was 40, like every single vertical that did sales knew my name.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became so typecasted as a sales guy, I had to reinvent myself again. Then I became a marketing guy. Google says I'm an internet celebrity. So I'll shed that. And then one day they're going to call me a banker.
Yeah.
So right now, like when Google calls me an internet celebrity, whatever that even means, they kind of leave out the fact that we have the real estate does $320 $20 million in gross revenue a year. We've raised 1.1 billion over the internet. I'm not even on the list of top internet influencers, but I only have 4 million followers on Instagram, but I've done $1 billion worth of raised funds, crowdfunding, and sold another $1 billion worth of stuff to that audience. So we have about 15 million followers on the internet. So if you just look at YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, like when that wasn't even around when I was a kid. None of that. I didn't have an Instagram till I was 53 years old.
Right.
And for it to pay me that kind of money, for me, I had to learn something. I didn't hire a young team of kids to figure out Instagram because nobody understood Instagram, much less my personality, my messaging, etc. So this is a great question this person asked, okay? Because one thing I'm not is the one trick pony. I got a lot of tricks, and I've done the sales game, the marketing game. I've written 8 books. I'm proud of doing these things. These are all new things for me. We got in the event business about 7 years ago. We do an entertainment event, not educational. I don't think people understand that one big event we do every year does about $20 million. It's an entertainment event. It's more like a Super Bowl than it is a conference. And then we do, in addition to that, we do another 100 educational events a year between Phoenix and Miami. Again, all that requires planning, logistics, people, support. Like, it's a lot of work, man. This is definitely not a one-man show. And there's a lot of people around me that do a great job for me and are doing good and doing well and making a lot of money because of some of the stuff we're doing. What we're going to transition into going forward, this year, you're going to see a life insurance company introduced. You're going to see a financial group introduced. You're going to see Cardone Equity Group, where we're going to start raising money for our hundreds of the small businesses that we work with. We're going to actually crowdfund. You're going to see us take something public toward the end of next year. And then I'm going to continue to grow and scale the real estate platform.
Yeah, it's really, it's incredible just watching the rise, the journey, all the stuff you've done, all the different verticals you're expanding into. I know you got the health stuff and you want to eventually become a bank, I've heard you say, and different things.
I'm going to become a bank, bro.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. And so on that note, another audience question is from Rich Goldstein. He says, "Who's got my money, Grant? Can you give me some tips on how to raise funds?"
Yeah. So look, that concept came. I was working with a professional baseball player. He had transitioned from baseball, and he's like, "Man, what is it I'm doing wrong?" I said, "Bro, you're working on strategy. You just need to simplify this to who's got my money." In baseball, you're looking for the pitch. You're not looking for all the pitches.
Right. Any pitch you can hit.
Huh?
I said, you're not looking for just any pitch you can hit.
No, you're looking for your pitch.
Right. You
got to wait it out. It might be 7 pitches. So in business, who's got my money? And not what am I passionate about? What do I want to do? What am I good at? This guy was in a business that he thought, like, I said, "Bro, there's no money in this business. And even if there is, like, it's not scalable." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "What's your target?" He's like, "My target's 10 million a year." I said, "Good. Take the 10 million, divide it by 1. One person gives you 10 million. He's like, "What? Who's got you $10 million? It's simple math." Okay. Well, man, one person. I said, "Man, there's millions, there's billions of people on this planet. Do you even know who has $10 million? If you want one person to give you 10 million, then you need to target the people that with 10 million. He's like, I don't know enough people with 10 million. Good. So now you need 10 people to give you 1 million. That became easier for him. He's like, oh man, I'm selling the wrong product. Or you need 100 people to give you 100,000. I think that gets the same math. I'm not sure right now, but yeah, here it is. Let me read it to you. It's so I don't mess anybody up here. $10 million math. 100 people give you 100,000. 1,000 give you 10,000. He's like, huh? I said, 1,000 people. You're a fucking baseball player, bro. Everybody knows you. You're telling me you can't get 8,000 people to give you 10K? See, now he started thinking about the product, the service, the offer. I said, you could coach people. You could coach 1,000 people a year for 10 grand. I guarantee you could find 10,000 families in America to give you $833 a month to coach their kids on a damn Zoom call and make 10 million bucks. He's like, dude, you're blowing my freaking mind. Okay. I said, well, who's got my money? 10,000 people. If you found 10,000 people to give you $1,000, 10,000 families give you 83 bucks a month. Bang, you're there.
Yep.
So it's math. It's math. And this is a mistake that most people make. They don't do the math. They do what they're good at. I made the same mistake. I did what I was close to. And then I got good at it. And then I got trapped in it. And then 3 years later, I realized, bro, there's no money here.
That's so good. The money math it makes it real simple, and just reverse engineer from there, figure out how many people it is, and then get to work. Love that. Love that.
I've done $1 billion math. I've done $1 billion math, $10 billion math. And now that's how I created Cardone Capital.
It's amazing. Yeah. And you've done it with a lot of smaller investors, which is what I think is really impressive.
Yeah, most of our investors at Cardone Capital, we have 13,050 investors. Most of them are actually, most of the money, is from accredited at $400,000, $500,000 investments. Some are 10 million, 5 and 10 million. The reason we opened the non-accredited up was really because I wanted to give the little guy a shot at being invested in institutional quality assets. It was more of the right thing to do than it was a financial thing.
Yeah. And I think that's hugely important too, because they're ignored by Wall Street. Like they're not getting any love by the big guys. Completely
ignored, violated, discriminated against, discriminated against. And if you guys don't think that's true, well, you just look at Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. Those guys are not taking your money. Will they let you? Yeah, they'll take your money. Well, they'll take it and not pay you anything and lend it to me. They won't take it and lend it back to you. So they're not trying to help you. Yeah, they're not trying to help you until it benefits. And banks are, by the way, a very, very risky business. They cannot possibly take any more risk than they already do. I think people think banks are safe. Banks are the riskiest single industry in the world. And why so many people think it's a safe place to keep their money is just profoundly crazy to me.
Yeah, they're going to pay you nothing, and they're going to make money lending it to guys like you.
and more often than not, they're going to go bankrupt.
As we've been seeing today, as the market shifts.
Watch Wells Fargo. Watch out for Wells Fargo. You know, an exec jumped off the 14th floor of his building this weekend.
That's crazy. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he was doing all their internal audits. So either somebody threw him off, or he's like, "Look, I can't deal with this."
Good grief. Either way, not good.
Yeah.
Cool. I got a couple quick questions just to wrap up. I love all that advice on, the way you broke down the numbers for raising money. I think that makes it a lot more digestible. Definitely everybody.
Hey, Oliver, you do a great job, man. You do a great job. Now, the little the wallpaper in the back, man, it's almost like I'm hallucinating over here. I don't know
what's funny about that. You know what's funny about that is I'm actually at one of our offices today. I have a studio where we shoot all the content, and this is just we found a spot to post up. So this is
cool. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
Noted. So I have two young boys at home, 6 and 8, and I always love to ask the successful people that I get to talk to what their advice would be to them and the next generation on being successful in life and business.
Well, we homeschool our kids, so I can only recommend what's worked for us. You know, my kids get to spend a lot of time with us. I'd rather them spend time with me than spend time with teachers and kids. Um, when I'm with the kids and they're with other kids, you know, and they come home and I said, "Hey, did you have a good time today?" Yeah. Which of those kids is the least reliable, and which one's the least ethical? You know, which one's having the most problems? And so I get my kids to really think about it. I don't tell them what to do about it. I just get my kids to think about, you know, who's the least problems? Who's the most ethical? Who's the most responsible? You know, who's in the best condition? So if I'm answering your question right, as a dad, like I'm trying to just guide my kids, and one that takes time. You got to spend time with them. And
that is one thing I noticed, and Elena said something similar as well. But one thing I always thought was really cool is how you're having your kids come to events with you. They're on these massive stages giving presentations. They're speaking. Like, to me, that's way more of a learning experience than anything they're ever going to get in a classroom.
well, yeah, they're going to learn how to communicate. They're going to learn how not to be scared of people. They're going to learn how to move through their fears. They're going to learn how to write their own presentation. They're going to learn how to present it. They're going to learn what it feels like to have an audience like it and not like it. And, you know, they're going to learn pressure and deadlines, and it's part of their job, by the way. It's when they work for us. They're part of the team. We sold them on that concept, and then like, hey, this isn't a free ride. You know, you're part of this team. You're wearing the Cardone jersey. And look, I've actually had people upset about this with me. I'm like, okay, you're telling me you send your kids to school where they put on the school jersey and learn how to drink and smoke drugs, but it's wrong for me to force my kids to put on my jersey and promote what I'm doing and what we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
is there anything that you're always telling them? Is there anything that you're always reinforcing?
I think the thing I'm reinforcing all the time is we're going to help people. You know, like it's not a verbal thing. It's what they see us doing. You know, my daughter Sabrina told me the other day, "You're such a good man," you know, and it hit me. Like, I'm like, where'd that come from?
Wow. Yeah.
Like, you're such a good man, like out of nowhere. Like, she just came to my office. We started talking, "You're such a good man," you know, and she sees everything I'm doing. She sees the phone calls and me stopping and do what I'm doing to help somebody, or, you know, she doesn't see the Instagram. She doesn't see the public part. You know, she sees behind the scenes everything. Yeah. And she sees me take the time with them and the work and the employees and the people around me. And I didn't tell her to be a good person. I didn't tell her to be a good man, or, you know, but she saw something I was doing that made her feel like that.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
I tell them, hey, look, I do tell them, hey, look, you guys are not rich. I want you guys to know that. Okay, I'm rich. You're not. And this
you
is
might
not
get
your,
some benefits of my richness, but don't get it confused.
Don't get confused. That's my plane. That's my model plane. Okay, it's not yours. And these are all they're things that you guys want to use with me. There's something expected on the trade. If you don't, no problem. No problem. You guys can do, you know, you don't want to do this stuff. You don't have to, by the way. But if you want to roll with me and do this thing and have a great life, like at least participate in the things that we're doing, this is what is required.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the concept of wearing the jersey.
Yeah, wear the jersey, man. It's my school. This is our school jersey right here, Cardone.
Love that. Right on. And then in 60 seconds or less, what is it going to take for massive success in real estate over the next couple of years?
Buy assets. You're not going to be successful selling them.
Mm, mm.
You're
And
going
then
to be
on that note, I have
you just ask yourself, would you rather sell $5 billion worth of assets or own $5 billion?
Yeah, I'd rather own it.
Yeah.
And this is maybe more, this is a personal question then, because I did have a little seller's remorse. We just sold a property out in Arizona. It was a 30-unit building. But it had kind of gotten to the point where we had maxed it out in terms of like what we were going to be able to do to it. Is that still I should have kept it, or is that I should cash it out at that point and go to the next one?
I don't mind that. I mean, some of that stuff, 30 units, it was probably built in 1983 or 76, somewhere in there.
Right. Yeah.
When was it built?
Yeah, it was 80s, early 80s.
I know that because of the size of it, because that's what they were building back then, right? So, there's only so much you can do with it, dude. Like that stuff it's 40 years old now. It's going to be 50 years old in another 10 years, and then 60 years old. And it's like, nobody's going to want it. Some of this stuff is going to be thrown away in the future. It's going to be scraped, at which point somebody's going to pay more to scrape it, and they're going to build something. So I don't mind that. I've sold stuff that I later regretted, but not really. I don't really miss it.
Good. That's good to hear. Makes me feel better. Going on to the next opportunity.
Particularly the small stuff. You're never going to regret small stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if it was 300 units,
might be a little different.
Yeah, because all you're going to do is make some money and pay taxes on it, and then you got to go buy another 300 units. So what I'm trying to do is accumulate this stuff. I mean, if you look at, let me see if I have this. In 1983, okay, I was 25 years old. My rent was $275.
Damn.
$275, bro, and I was late all the time. 2 years later, in the year 1980 and 5, rents for the same property would be $475. They went up $200 on $275. That's almost 100% in 2 years.
Yeah,
I should have been buying that stuff back then, right? Now there's going to be periods of time where it just stays flat, but I saw this weekend. I think I took a picture of it. I don't know if you mind this.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Here it is right here, dude. Average rent by year. Okay, this was last updated November 2022. Average rent prices in America have increased 8.85% since 1980.
Really? Wow. Yeah, I'm seeing it right there on the screen.
It's too
fuzzy. That's an interesting stat.
Yeah. So I went back to look at 1980 when I was renting. I mean, in 2012, when I bought those 1,000 units, the rent was $800 on 1,000 units. It's $1,800 now. So just multiply 1,012 units times $1,000 of new income.
That's
insane.
It's
insane, bro.
Yeah,
it's more than I ever thought. I've just been wrong about how much rent would. Now, if you go to Sydney, Australia, or Singapore, or you go to England, go to London, you're going to see rents that make our rents look cheap. I think the average rent in New York's $5,700 today. Silicon Valley's probably closer to $8,000. So when you go down to San Diego and you see a brand new property for $2,100, dude, that's cheap.
Yeah,
they're going up.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that's why people are on the other side of the buy real estate coin, is because they want to just lock in their payment. But I think there's a lot of other things to factor in there in terms of the maintenance, the taxes, the disposition costs.
That's the rent graph. Is it too light? Let me see.
Yeah, it's showing up. It's up only. It's up only, and it's way up.
But it still doesn't compete with, college tuitions. People have invested $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year in college tuitions. You guys should have dumped all that money into a damn apartment deal for your kids and said, don't go to college, and let them be the damn tenant, the manager of the property, and collect the rents.
Damn. That's a heavy banger right there.
Right? My kids, we don't give our kids any money. I pay them. We pay them a salary in January. We take the salary, we show it to them. We give them a contract, a list of things they have to deliver for the next 12 months. And then I take that money and put it in Cardone Capital, and all they get is the income every month from that investment. So when they're 18, 19 years old, they're going to have all this accumulated assets. And I wrote them off. They're write-offs. The kids are write-offs. And I'm creating wealth for them in the process. And they're exchanging with us while all that's happening.
That's brilliant. I think my favorite line from this whole interview was, buy your kids a multifamily apartment instead of a college education, because the value of one is decreasing and the value of the other is increasing.
They may never use their college tuition.
Yeah.
In fact, you're probably going to have to fund another $30,000 to send them to the treatment center because they learned how to use drugs in college.
There you go. And I think that's a perfect note to end on. I know you're probably a very busy man. Definitely, guys, I got to say personally, 10X is one of my favorite books of all time. I've probably read it 25 times. Anytime I feel like I'm hitting a slump, I go back to that book, and it's just pure motivation, pure energy, and really looking forward to the next book. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Oh, and when are you running for president? That's not happening. I don't think that happens. Right on, Grant. Appreciate you, man. And for everybody listening, if you like money and you like real estate, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Oliver. Great job. Hell yeah, man. Appreciate it.